Getting the sale is the easy part. Keeping the customer, that's a whole different job, and most people have never heard of it until now.
Jana, welcome to the 20-Minute Career.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jane.
It's great to have you. So, in plain terms, can you tell us what customer success is?
Yeah. So this is a bit of a funny one because ultimately the job title is what is required of the role. So customer, we work predominantly with customers after sales have onboarded them onto a solution. And success, we want to ensure that they're seeing value and success out of what they're paying for. And it's a role typically seen in a SaaS business, more where we have to renew a customer and we have to have conversations with them around different ways of using the platform and why they purchase, what the problems, what the challenges are. But ultimately, our end goal is ensuring that the customer is happy, healthy, renewing their subscriptions with us and potentially in the long run, expanding or growing or buying other kind of products and solutions that the organization offers.
How did you actually get into it? And looking back your career, what was it that helped you in getting there?
It's a good question. I come from a family of two migrants that moved to Australia around 35, 36 years ago, who had very traditional careers. My father worked in IT and engineering. My mother was a lawyer and a journalist back in her home country of Macedonia. But when they came to Australia, something that she took on was being a migration agent just because of the language barriers and the difference in the countries. And so coming from a migrant background, there was obviously an expectation to work hard, to build, I guess, a career and a life in this new country that we turned into a home for us. And so there was always this idea of just very traditional roles in organizations, lawyers, economics, engineering. And so for me, that was always the concept of what existed. And so I followed in the footsteps of going to university. I did a more of a media communications, public relations and advertising degree. I tried a science degree. It wasn't quite working out for me. I really enjoyed the aspect of learning about the world, learning about people, the social side of things, and being able to connect with lots of different, people, and I guess lots of different organizations. And so that stemmed into me working throughout my university degree in various different roles. And what I discovered was that I really enjoyed both the social aspect to work, whilst also taking a little bit more of a nerdy side of things and enjoying the data and the back end and really a bit more of the kind of technical side of things. I didn't know customer success was something that existed. And I think fortunately, I was actually reached out to by a recruiter on LinkedIn about this role. And I just said, look, let me learn more about it and see if it's the right fit for me. And just having a background of not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but having, I guess, a sort of jack of all trades sort of interest in things and not wanting to go down one particular path or industry or way of doing things.
Yeah.
What I found out was that this role just really gave you the opportunity to be independent and flexible in the way that you work to ensure that a customer is successful. And so very fortunately, my career started with that LinkedIn message where I took on a customer success role at an organization. And then that quickly followed into, 8-10 years of a career in this industry. And I love it. So it's been very fun.
You're marketing a PR degree. Has that helped?
Yeah. Look, it has. I think it definitely wasn't needed. I think this is a role that if you have the right skills and behavioral traits, it's definitely something you can learn and develop. I think for me, university was a good way just to learn and open your mind about different ways of doing things. It was helpful to adapt to different deadlines and different thoughts and all of that was there. It made me also realize that I didn't want to work in public relations. So whether or not
Fair
that's
enough.
the point of it, when we had to do work experience and things like that, it taught me what I didn't like and what I did like. So I really enjoyed my university degree and going through that experience, but I don't necessarily think it is a requirement for the role. And it's not something I would be looking for if I was hiring someone in my team as well.
So what do you do day to day?
Yeah.
Unpack. Let's unpack that.
I love this question. because I have so many friends that are like, but what do you actually do? And they just don't quite grasp it. I guess, like I said, it's a jack of all trades role. So any one day is very different to the next. And we do things in this role from building relationships with different contacts within your customer's organization, training, onboarding. So you could be walking them through as, I guess, a product specialist of the company and the technology that you have. And so running trainings and workshops. You work with a big book and portfolio of customers as well. And so you can see what the best practices are, what the common trends are, and develop workshops around that, the usage of how they're using the platform, the challenges that they're hoping to address within their organization. You find ways to brainstorm and consult and recommend on that. My role specifically, I've had the pleasure of enjoying a lot of travel. So a lot of my customers have not just been in Sydney where I'm based, but around Australia and even internationally. I looked after customers in Singapore, in Malaysia, now in the Philippines, in Japan. So that was a really cool part of the job, where you have to travel quite a bit and then also balance that with some of the work. So that's sort of the social aspect of it. There's a lot of face-to-face meetings or conference calls that you have to interact with, but also the back end side, where there's probably a lot of, templates that you're building, or workshop trainings, or creating documentation, looking at data, looking at usage, and making sense of that all. The end goal ultimately is to ensure that the customer sees that value and sees success. And so tying that to some sort of value conversation to the customer and how that meets their business goals that they're trying to hit is really the end goal and the vision of all the work that we're trying to do.
How is AI impacting your role at the moment, and how do you see that moving into the future?
Yeah. I, from a work perspective, absolutely love and embrace everything that we can do with AI. So there's probably two levels in customer success. Sometimes there is more of a digital role where you're managing maybe up to 100 customers. And so in that sort of I guess role, it's very clear how AI can help to help you scale maybe the communication that you're sending out. There's certain conversations, what it's picking up in the summaries or in the transcripts. Is there common trends? Is there things that are issues or support escalations that need to happen? And so we are looking at ways to utilize AI to help us manage such a big portfolio of customers proactively, rather than waiting for customers to come in and put their hand up asking for our help. And then on the other side, there is more of, I guess, a white glove service. So, old school, the waiters with the white gloves giving you that one-to-one kind of personalization and going above and beyond. And so in that sort of context, it's really helping us with those tasks that just take those extra 5-10 minutes in your day, scheduling, invites or coming up with summaries. And so being able to kind of do those without having to think, but also trying to reimagine what that looks like. And so I think AI will certainly help us in our roles, and maybe even be able to deliver some of that stuff that maybe some individuals just find really repetitive and don't want to do it again and again. And that will free up our time to be more personalized with our customers, take on more strategic work where we can really dig into maybe how they're using things, and develop certain more customized, personalized work for our customers.
You have a lot of customers, therefore the role can be quite challenging. Can you talk us through maybe the pressures, the kind of stuff that people don't see?
Yes, and it's not something to gloss over. I remember in that first year, in that first role, I would sometimes come home and just feel so overwhelmed with how many questions you receive, and how many escalations and support kind of technical problems there are as well. And when you're there trying to learn the business, learn the product and everything else, it's really hard to be ultimately the face or the first person to contact those customers for that organization. And whilst we're not the support team that maybe helps them, we are often the escalation point, or the one that has to have that conversation back with the customer. And so you almost feel like a punching bag, like a boxing bag some days, where there are times where just customers want to share all the bad things that have happened and not necessarily vocalize all the great success that, you've developed with them. And so there is an element of resilience that you need to have in this role, I think. At times, a lot of the work that comes inbound or just piles up can seem really overwhelming. And so, really taking a step back just to understand that, sometimes it's your own kind of want to be really quick and helpful and be that yes person that can help the customer. There is just all sorts of practices that you can do and
Yeah.
say, okay, I don't need to respond in an hour. Let me just take a break, a breather. Let me respond to the customer and say I'll get back to them. And so there's those sort of pressures, definitely. There's a lot of calls and meetings, so a lot of FaceTime with customers that can mean at some point, if you are very busy in a week, you're sitting at a desk a lot of the time or in person traveling to those meetings versus actually catching up on the emails and the other kind of busy work you need to do. So there is definitely time management, which is a big skill you need to have in this role and you can develop. So those are definitely key things. I am very much a people pleaser and I want to give my customers everything and say yes to everything. So that's something I've had to learn very much in this role, that you can't commit to everything, because if you could, then you'd have to influence all sorts of different teams, product, engineering, everyone in the business. And whilst your
Mm,
customers are incredibly important, your business probably has another 1,000 customers there, and so there is a way of prioritizing the requests and the needs. And so I think that's the biggest thing, certainly, that you are seen as the face of the organization. You are the
yeah.
day-to-day contact and stakeholder and partner with these customers. And so you hear everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you need to find ways to be able to turn that around or work with them
Mm.
to have those hard conversations and take that back to their stakeholders.
How's your performance measured?
As I said, CS, customer success, is often a SaaS business title. So
Mm,
that's where customers will have a subscription and then we have to renew that on a yearly or 2-year, 3-year, 4-year basis. So our main KPI and target is around renewing the customer and retaining the customer. So that relates to account health, making sure you're doing the right things so that when their subscription ends, they're very happy, they want to continue using you. That is the main target, but often the role also looks at expansion. So if there are other products that you sell that the customer's not using, you do sometimes have an element of growing that customer, often in partnerships with the sales department and team as well. So you don't go at that alone, but you definitely have to have your ears up in conversations to figure out, what products would work best. And then sometimes there are things like customer satisfaction scores. If your organization's sending out surveys or anything like that to see how good the partnership is, sometimes that can be a KPI as well that your performance rated on. It's in the nature, I think,
y-
of customer success to want to do good, to want to please, to want to help a customer, to want them to succeed and see the benefit in everything. And so if things aren't going well, it's hard to not take it personally because you are the one
yeah.
trying to do all the right things. It's really difficult. And especially if there's 10 people in an organization you're working with and one isn't happy, they're usually the most vocal one. You don't write reviews all the time on how great things are, but if something goes bad, you often
Mm.
do write a review. And so there is a lot of pressure, I think, in customer success if you're in the role around what that means for yourself.
You've been in customer success for a little while now, and you obviously love it. What is it that really keeps you in it? Is there a moment where you've said, "I've absolutely made the right choice in this career"?
Think what's really cool is you get to see the progress of your recommendations and the work that you do, because you hold this relationship with the customer and you work with them for a set period of time, obviously ongoing throughout their subscription and partnership with you. So what's really cool in my journey that I absolutely loved was, customers that get handed to you on day one as a new customer. And 2 years later, just looking back at how far you've gone with them in the 24 months and how much of your influence has gone into the success that they've done. So it's really cool if you want to continue on that journey. For me, the most fun and exciting part of the job is just meeting all these different people and understanding what their organizations do. I currently work for a hiring software company. And so I can speak to customers that, sell soft drinks to, big financial banks and institutions in Australia to, the tiny, I don't know, hairdresser down the street that uses it. And so you hear all these different stories and challenges and meet all these people and different ways of working and what they do. And for me, that's truly, I think, just the fascination behind the role. It's not what you have to do every day, but it's all these amazing and interesting and incredible people and companies that you learn along the way.
I've got some rapid fire
Okay.
questions to finish things off and, try to answer in a sentence or in one word. So what's the best part of the job?
That every day is completely different.
Worst part of the job?
Being that punching bag when things don't go the right way.
What do you know now that you wish you'd known when you were 20?
That things get easier, confidence comes really quickly, and things that seem so difficult or things that you dreaded in the past just become so normal and easy to tackle when you're, older and have done it again and again.
What's one piece of practical advice you'd give someone considering customer success?
Be curious, ask a lot of questions, take that first role, see if you like it. And I think just the discovery behind what the role is and what the customers do, and just, that curiosity is really the best way to see if it, it's the right fit and if you like it.
And final question, would you do it
Yeah.
all again?
Yes. I love it. I think it's a really cool career. As I said, I love the travel aspect of it. I love the meeting new people. As you get higher in the role, you might be leading people in your own team versus maybe more of the customer side of things. But there's events, there's webinars, there's a lot of really cool stuff to it. So I love the industry. I love the role, and I think I definitely would do it again.
Well, this has been exactly what this show is about, real, honest conversations. So thank you for giving me 20 minutes of your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Jane.